Almost 90% of people recognize that the Tao Te Ching is a book of profound wisdom. However, more than 90% of people get stuck on the very first chapter and can't continue. So what should you do if you don't understand the first chapter? Based on my experience reading The Art of War and the Huangdi Neijing, the first chapter often serves as a summary of the entire book. If you understand the first chapter, you'll likely grasp the whole book. Likewise, once you understand the entire book, the first chapter becomes clear. So I went ahead and read all the other chapters, and when I circled back to the first chapter, everything suddenly made sense. So what does the first chapter really say? It mainly revolves around two words, Wu, non-being, and Yu, being. These two concepts serve as the two doors to the Tao Te Ching, from Wu to Yu, and from Yu to Wu, constantly transforming into each other. This is the law of the evolution of all things. We can all see the tangible, visible things, which we're more familiar with, so Laozi speaks less about them in the Tao Te Ching. To Laozi, the intangible is actually more important because first, ordinary people can't see it, and second, the intangible things are what determine the tangible. Thus, Wu is more important than Yu. Wu is actually the central focus of the entire Tao Te Ching. It's similar to what we often say when designing business models: you should let others have the visible profits and keep the invisible value for yourself. If you want to absorb the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching to guide your work and life, I strongly recommend reading the original text first. After you've read the original, then you can look at others' interpretations. This way you won't easily be led astray. I've seen many people who discuss the Tao Te Ching, and their imaginations are quite powerful. They can even interpret immortals and monsters from it. I just treat their interpretations like fantasy novels. When I read the Tao Te Ching, I always keep a copy of Wang Li's Dictionary of Classical Chinese Characters nearby. If even the dictionary doesn't clarify something, I look it up online. That way, I can generally read smoothly without much issue. Nowadays, there's another convenient tool, AI. The large AI models in China are all quite helpful. If you come across a sentence you don't understand, just input it into AI, and their responses will usually respect the original meaning of the text. They're fairly reliable. Let's look at the first sentence. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Can the Tao be described? It can, but the Tao that is spoken is incomplete. There is always a part that cannot be fully expressed. Can you name something? Yes, but the name only encompasses part of that thing's characteristics. Some aspects can't be captured by a name. In other words, wisdom cannot be fully conceptualized or expressed in language. Not too long ago, there was a very popular song by Dao Long called The Story of Luozi, which mentioned a person named Wittgenstein. He once said, "The limits of my language are the limits of my world." But just because something can't be fully explained by language, does that mean it can't be understood? Of course not. So how did Laozi approach this? He used examples and analogies to help you comprehend, which is where the wisdom of the East shines through. That's why there's not much logical reasoning in the Tao Te Ching. It jumps straight to conclusions and then uses analogies to guide you toward understanding the deeper meaning. This is similar to Chinese calligraphy and painting. Why can Chinese paintings be admired over and over again without losing their charm? It's not just the flavor of the painting itself, but also the importance of leaving blank spaces. The blank space represents vast imagination. A complete work of art isn't just the scene the artist presents, but also your own interpretation, making each viewing experience unique. Every time you see it, you'll have a different interpretation, which is something personal and one of a kind. This interaction between you and the artist persists over hundreds or even thousands of years. So what is Tao? Some people say it's the law of nature. In my view, in addition to the law, Tao also includes the original energy. Tao gives birth to all things. If there were only the law without the original energy, it wouldn't work. So when we talk about Tao, we should include three elements: tangible matter, intangible energy, and the mysterious rules that govern their interaction. Now let's look at the second sentence. Nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of all things. What does this mean? The universe began from nothingness. It was originally a mass of energy. Then, intangible energy condensed into tangible matter, and that's what we call you. Everything in the world is born from you, and you is born from Wu. Tangible matter makes up the world around us. Remember in middle school physics when Einstein discovered the wave-particle duality of light? He explained that light is both a wave and a particle. As a wave, it's energy. As a particle, it's matter. So light exists in a state between energy and matter. Sometimes it transforms from energy to matter, and other times from matter to energy, and these transformations happen in an instant. The third sentence goes thus: constantly without desire, one observes its essence; constantly with desire, one observes its manifestations. How you break up this sentence is critical. Some people divide it into constantly without desire and constantly with desire, which shifts the focus to desire and non-desire. But if we look at the broader theme of the book, the real focus is Wu and Yu, not desire or non-desire. Sima Guang and Wang Anshi, both great statesmen, also agreed with this interpretation. If you're learning management or statecraft, I recommend using this version of the sentence break. This sentence means that through the intangible energy, we can glimpse the mysteries of the universe. From tangible matter, we observe the boundaries of all things. There's an interesting interpretation of wisdom. Seeing the differences between things is called knowledge, while seeing the similarities is called wisdom. The fourth sentence says, these two emerge from the same source but have different names. Together they are called the mysterious. Who are these two? It's Wu and Yu. If you interpret them as desire and non-desire, the meaning doesn't quite make sense. This sentence is saying that intangible energy and tangible matter are two states of the same thing. They follow a mysterious law that governs their transformation, and that's why it's called Xuan, or the mysterious. Here, Xuan means something profound, miraculous, and indescribable. The fifth sentence says, mystery upon mystery, the gateway to all wonders. If you can see both tangible matter and intangible energy, and understand the mysterious rules of transformation, you've grasped the source of all wonders. This is the gateway to the mysteries. That's it for the first chapter. Now, let's address two key questions about the Tao Te Ching. The first question is, why is this book sometimes called Laozi and sometimes Tao Te Ching? In the Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods, the representatives of the various philosophical schools each wrote only one book to summarize their life's work. So their book became synonymous with their name. For example, Laozi Zhuangzi, Sun Tzu's Art of War, Han Feizi, and Shang Junshu. In the Han Dynasty, people recognized that Laozi and Zhuangzi's works had reached the level of classics. When Taoism emerged during the Eastern Han, Laozi's book became known as the Tao Te Ching, and Zhuangzi's became the Nanhua Jing. The second question is about the different versions of the Tao Te Ching. Why are there so many versions? In my opinion, each version is essentially a reinterpretation or recreation of the original. I primarily read the common version, but I've also looked at the Guodian and Mawangdui versions, though I don't focus on them. I think of the common version as an updated product, representing the collective wisdom of generations of political thinkers and philosophers. Would you agree with that?